As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
A cartoon that first aired in 1989 has stunned the world with its uncanny ability to predict the future. Long before it happened, the show depicted Donald Trump as president. It foresaw smartwatches, video calls,
Aproveitando essa ideia, vamos lembrar ao público que o Homer gosta de comida.
and even major sports outcomes. But its most unsettling prediction may be the one still to come. In 2026.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump.
Recent episodes paint a chilling picture of a world unraveling. AI revolts, collapsing economies, and eerie parallels to today's headlines. The creators insist it's all satire, yet the coincidences feel far too precise to ignore.
It's me, Artie Ziff, in pre-recorded form.
And 2026 could be the year they hit. We are talking microchips in brains, a United States-China conflict, and other unsettling forecasts that were once just jokes.
Why people believe. Before diving into what the Simpsons might have seen coming for 2026, we need to understand why people take their predictions so seriously. It's not just random internet theories, it's decades of eerie coincidences that turned gags into global headlines. Remember the Simpsons movie from 2007? Marge joked, "It's not like the government is listening to everyone's conversations," and the camera cut to a secret surveillance facility.
I don't know if you guys should be talking so loud. No, Lisa, it's not like the government is listening to everybody's conversation.
6 years later, boom. The Edward Snowden leaks exposed massive government spying programs, almost frame for frame.
There's enough computer memory there to save every phone call, every text message, and every email from every American for the next 500 years.
Or take the infamous horsemeat scandal of 2013. Way back in 1994, Springfield Elementary served assorted horse parts in school lunches. What seemed like a throwaway joke became horrifyingly real when tests found horse DNA in meat sold as beef across Europe. Then there's Blinky, the three-eyed fish caught near Springfield's power plant. A symbol of pollution so exaggerated, it had to be satire.
All right, we eat tonight.
1, 2, 3.
Until 2011, when a fisherman in Argentina reeled in a three-eyed fish near a nuclear facility. The image went viral, and fans instantly connected the dots. Even technology wasn't safe from their foresight. In 1994, a school bully's digital assistant mistranslated "beat up Martin" into "eat up Martha."
Hey, Dolph, take a memo on your Newton. Beat up Martin.
Years later, Apple engineers revealed that phrase became a running joke during iPhone development. A cautionary reminder to fix autocorrect errors. And who could forget Lady Gaga's gravity-defying Super Bowl entrance? The Simpsons animated her hanging from wires in a silver outfit 5 years before she actually did it, in almost the exact pose. Or when Homer and Marge helped the United States curling team defeat Sweden for gold, 8 years later, the real team did the exact same thing. Even FIFA corruption, lampooned in a 2014 episode, was exposed almost word for word the following year when real officials were arrested. Each time, fans say the same thing. They can't keep getting it right by accident. Coincidence? Maybe. But after 3 decades of jokes turning into journalism, The Simpsons have earned their reputation as pop culture prophets. So when fans spot hints about 2026, from AI uprisings to blackouts and Mars missions, the question isn't if they're right this time, it's how close they'll be. The tech takeover. If The Simpsons got only one thing right about 2026, it might be this. The Rise of the Machines. In Season 23's episode, Them Robot, Mr. Burns fires every human employee at the Springfield power plant and replaces them with AI-driven robots. It's classic slapstick at first. Homer bumping into mechanical co-workers, trying to outsmart his new colleagues. But fast forward to today, and it feels like an omen. McDonald's has automated kitchens. AI models write news, screenplays, and code. Boston Dynamics robots dance, jump, and now patrol public areas. Even law enforcement is experimenting with robotic units. What used to be futuristic satire is starting to look like tomorrow's job market. And it's not a joke anymore. The episode doesn't just warn about robots replacing workers. It captures a deeper anxiety that we'll trade control for convenience. Homer becomes the last human in a fully automated system, and that isolation mirrors what millions fear about AI dominance. Add to that the real-world headlines: layoffs tied to automation, ChatGPT designing content faster than entire writing teams, and robot trials in police departments. Then there's the surveillance side of tech. As we have earlier mentioned about the episode where Mage disclosed that the government spies on calls. Today, your phone's microphone, your smartwatch's sensors, even your fridge's Wi-Fi connection can listen, track, and analyze. China's facial recognition system now watches over 1 billion people. The US has ramped up its own AI-based surveillance programs, and back in Springfield, cameras were installed everywhere. Streets, homes, bathrooms, under the guise of safety.
Oi, snogging people!
What the hell was that?
Written on the wall in the episode, Permanent Surveillance Measures Effective 2026. Maybe coincidence, maybe clue. And what about virtual reality? In another blink and you'll miss it scene, Lisa attends school entirely in a VR simulation. Headset on, desk gone. When that aired, remote learning was fiction. After the pandemic, it's reality. Now Meta, Apple, and Google are building worlds where kids may never need a classroom again. The Simpsons might not have invented the metaverse, but it might have predicted the loneliness that comes with living inside it. Put it all together. AI replacing humans, machines watching humans, and humans escaping into machines, and 2026 starts to feel less like a year and more like a system reboot. The global shift, politics, money, and power. If the Simpsons' tech warnings sound wild, wait until you see what they've hinted about the balance of power in 2026. Because Springfield's strangest jokes about world leaders, money, and politics are starting to look like a global playbook. Let's start with President Kamala Harris. In Bart to the Future, Lisa becomes president after a disastrous Trump term leaves the country broke.
We're broke. The country is broke?
Funny, right? Until 2021, when Kamala Harris stepped onto the inaugural stage in a purple blazer and pearl necklace, the same look Lisa wore in that scene. Coincidence? Maybe. But with Biden well into his 80s and 2026 landing squarely in an election cycle, some are calling this the moment The Simpsons got the visual and timeline right. Again. Then there's money, or the lack of it. Season 11 featured a gag headline reading, "US dollar doomed." Back then, it was pure parody. Today, it's déjà vu. Inflation is biting, the national debt is exploding, and global powers like China and Russia are leading the charge toward de-dollarization. Meanwhile, there are ongoing research on digital innovations in understanding how the payment system could be improved. There is political opposition, with at least one bill aiming to ban the development of a U.S. central bank digital currency. But we would see how it plays out in 2026. A joke that once mocked financial collapse is now echoing through policy rooms. Even the world's food supply isn't safe. One episode showed Bart eating cricket protein, a gross-out gag at the time. Fast forward, and the United Nations and World Economic Forum are actually promoting edible insects as a sustainable alternative to meat. European companies are already mass-producing cricket flour and mealworm snacks, with global release targets set around 2025 to 2026. It's not just eco-trendy anymore, it's real business. The Simpsons might have just given us a taste test of the future. And if money and food weren't enough, they went bigger. Literally global. A Treehouse of Horror episode once imagined a planet-wide blackout. No power, no satellites, total chaos. Unreal? Not exactly. NASA has already confirmed that the next solar maximum, a surge of solar storms powerful enough to fry electrical grids, will peak between late 2025 and early 2026. Governments are preparing. Governments are stockpiling emergency transformers. Experts are warning of global outages. It's as if the writers didn't just imagine a dark world, they dated it. Cybersecurity firms are warning. Even space agencies are running blackout simulations. Springfield's apocalypse might have been exaggerated, but the science behind it isn't. When you stitch it together, political transition, financial reinvention, and potential global disruption, a pattern forms. Each thread ties back to 2026. Maybe the writers just exaggerated modern anxieties. Or maybe, somehow, they've always been watching the timeline a few years ahead of the rest of us. Either way, it's hard to ignore that in Springfield, the future always seems to arrive right on schedule. Environmental warnings. The planer in peril. The Simpsons have never shied away from painting the apocalypse in yellow, but when you look closely, some of their funniest environmental gags now read like grim previews of a planet on edge, all pointing eerily toward 2026. It starts with geoengineering, the idea that humans could one day control the weather. In the Simpsons movie, Mr. Burns funded a giant climate system that literally changed the weather to sell more power. It was wild science fiction back then, until it wasn't. China has already admitted to using cloud seeding technology over Beijing. The US has quietly expanded atmospheric research through projects like Harupi, and now nations are openly discussing climate engineering treaties. Exactly the kind of power over nature plotline that once lived only in Springfield. The show didn't stop there. It predicted environmental hypocrisy too. In the classic Itchy and Scratchy Land episode, Springfield's robotic theme park goes haywire, hinting at humanity's obsession with control and its blindness to consequences. That theme repeats with automation, but it's also a metaphor for ecology, when the system we build turns against us. All of these warnings, weather control, contamination, energy collapse, lead to one chilling conclusion. The Earth in The Simpsons isn't dying by accident. It's being nudged toward disaster by the same tools we celebrate as progress. And with 2026 looming, fans can't help wondering, was Springfield ever a parody or a preview? Beyond Earth, the race to Mars, and the final frontier. When you've wrecked the planet, what's left to do? Leave it. And once again, The Simpsons seemed to know the timeline long before NASA did. In Season 27, Episode 1, Lisa signs up for a mission to colonize Mars. It's the kind of idea that could only come from a show famous for mixing optimism and absurdity. A family sitcom sending its brightest child into space. At the time, that sounded like parody, but then Elon Musk came along. his company SpaceX announced a human Mars program in the mid-2020s. The plan has shifted slightly, but the vision, humans on Mars before 2030, still aligns with that eerie Simpsons timestamp. What's stranger? The tone of the episode. It isn't about adventure, it's about doubt. Lisa questions the mission's motives, wondering whether humanity deserves a new world if it can't fix the one it already has. It's moral science fiction wrapped in yellow humor, but the question hits harder now than ever. NASA, SpaceX, and even private firms like Blue Origin are racing toward 2026 milestones. Habitat tests, radiation research, Mars suits, AI-assisted navigation. Every headline sounds like a storyboard from Springfield turned into a launch schedule. And The Simpsons didn't stop at Mars. Another 2001 episode takes it one step further. The Simpsons joked about the US fighting in space. 17 years later, the United States actually formed the Space Force as a military branch. Fans laughed at the idea of space soldiers. Now it's a recruiting reality. Maybe it's satire. Maybe it's foresight. Or maybe The Simpsons just reflect our endless urge to escape our own mess, one planet at a time. Even their smaller space gags feel prophetic. In Deep Space Homer, NASA sends a random everyman to space to boost ratings. It's absurd, until real-world agencies started live-streaming rocket launches with influencers, YouTubers, and even paying civilians to board suborbital flights. Homer might have been the first space tourist. He just didn't know it. The symbolism runs deep. Every time The Simpsons look upward, humanity follows, sometimes literally. And in 2026, that upward gaze might finally turn real. But The Simpsons never made space look like salvation. They made it look like repetition. Because no matter where we go, Mars, the Moon, or beyond, Springfield's warning stands. If we don't change ourselves, we'll just build another Springfield on another planet. Cultural shifts and social predictions. When The Simpsons looked at society, they weren't just mocking it, they were mapping it. Beneath the slapstick and satire, the show's social commentary often landed years ahead of its time, sketching out cultural changes we're now living through. And for 2026, those shifts might be reaching their peak. Let's talk about virtual escape. When Mr. Burns built a VR family to replace his real one, it was meant to be absurdly lonely. A man so rich he can buy affection. But it's also prophetic. VR platforms, digital avatars, and metaverse hangouts are booming. In Japan and the US, people hold weddings inside virtual worlds. Children grow up with AI companions. By 2026, analysts predicted that a third of all daily digital interactions could happen in simulated environments. The Springfield satire of a man living with perfect, programmable replicas is starting to look eerily familiar. Even food and morality got their prophetic twist. Lisa's choice to become a vegetarian back in 1995 wasn't just heartwarming, it was revolutionary. Decades before sustainability dominated dinner tables, The Simpsons positioned a child's ethical awakening against a backdrop of ignorance and overconsumption. Now, plant-based diets and lab-grown meat are billion-dollar industries. The world is debating climate diets, food shortages, and personal responsibility, the exact issues Lisa faced before she'd even finished middle school. And then, there's censorship. In Itchy and Scratchy and Marge, Springfield bans violent cartoons after public outrage, only for the same crowd to demand that a nude statue be covered up. That episode came out in 1990. Fast forward, and modern culture is still reliving the same battle. Where to draw the line between morality and art, offense and expression? The same contradictions fuel online cancel wars and cultural policing today. Marge's final words, "I guess one person's nudity is another person's filth," might as well headline the internet of 2026. Through humor, The Simpsons predicted the perfect storm of our era. Endless connectivity, moral confusion, and digital dependence wrapped in laughter. Springfield became a mirror, one where humanity's quirks, fears, and contradictions play out decades before we recognize them in ourselves. Because the real genius of The Simpsons isn't that it sees the future. It's that it sees us, unfiltered, unprepared, and somehow still laughing as we slide toward it. Hidden messages and the mystery of The Simpsons prophet. After decades of predictions, one question keeps echoing across fan forums and Reddit threads. How do they keep getting it right? Is it luck? Coincidence? Or something deeper? Someone behind the curtain who knows more than they should? Some fans point to the elusive figure of John Swartzwelder, one of The Simpsons' most prolific and secretive writers. He penned over 50 classic episodes and almost never gives interviews. Living off the grid, Swartzwelder once joked, "I just write what's already happened." Fans took that as more than humor. They treated it like a confession. Online communities have spun entire theories around a Simpsons prophet, a mysterious creative voice with insider knowledge of global events, government operations, or maybe even classified projects. Far-fetched? Maybe. But when a cartoon predicts AI dominance, political transitions, and Mars missions decades before they hit the news, people start connecting dots, even if they lead nowhere. Others think the show isn't predicting anything, it's shaping it. Writers in Hollywood and Silicon Valley grew up watching The Simpsons. Many of them admit to being inspired by its satire, ideas, and even its gadgets. Tech developers have turned "Eat Up Martha" into an inside design mantra. Elon Musk himself tweeted about how eerily accurate the show can be. If imagination influences invention, then The Simpsons might not foresee the future. It might create it. But there's another possibility, one that's far more human. The Simpsons writers were, and still are, some of the sharpest cultural observers alive. They've always had their fingers on the pulse of technology, politics, and media, and they exaggerated what they saw coming. The trick wasn't prophecy, it was pattern recognition. The reason the predictions feel so accurate is that The Simpsons never guessed the future. They understood the present so clearly that the rest of us only caught up years later. The same fears about automation, corruption, and collapse were already in motion, hiding in headlines. Springfield just amplified them through comedy until reality caught up. And yet, the coincidences are too strange to ignore. The repeating dates, 2026 stamped across warnings, signs, and storylines. The growing alignment between fictional catastrophes and real-world headlines. Even the way episodes layer jokes about time travel, alternate realities, and simulated worlds. Some fans now claim The Simpsons doesn't exist within time. It bends it. That it's the universe's way of letting us laugh at fate before it happens. Maybe it's all a coincidence. Maybe it's subconscious foresight. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a coded message we were never supposed to take seriously. Because if a cartoon can mirror our reality this precisely, maybe the joke's not on us anymore. So, after all this, are The Simpsons prophets, pranksters, or just painfully perceptive storytellers? Maybe they never meant to predict anything. Maybe the real secret is that they simply paid attention, closer than anyone else. For over 3 decades, the world has laughed at Springfield's chaos, not realizing it was a reflection in the mirror. But as 2026 approaches, those jokes are starting to sound like headlines waiting to happen. Whether it's AI taking over, politics shifting hands, or humanity aiming for Mars, one truth stands out. Every joke hides a warning. And maybe that's the genius of The Simpsons. They made us laugh our way right into the future, because if they're right about 2026, we might already be living in their script. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.